Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
That's what makes it so exciting, and I can tell you're big on the universe and the flow, and the Dodgers do have something going on. Obviously, the Fernando Valenzuela thing. Well, you say, well, we're going to find out which force will the force be with the Yankees tonight. I'm trying to land the plane by saying Shohei Ohtani is going to play tonight, and I wonder how hurt you think he is after the shoulder injury in Game 2.
Now, with technology these days, I'm sure they had him on ice and stim. I'm sure he may not be 90%. I believe it was a minor injury. So with, different capabilities and the adrenaline for the World Series, I just feel like he's a threat no matter what. Batting practice today, I'm sure they're going to have a glimpse on him. It'd be interesting to see how he's squaring up the ball. But then again, it's just, he's a threat at the plate, even at 80%. I mean, he's better than 90% of the players in the game. And once he gets on first base, he's a threat on the base paths as well.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
This is what I don't like about the Ryder situation. Everybody's like, oh, now they didn't have first, and they didn't get a chance to play for first. Again, it's in my column. What are you bitching about? This is what I would say if I was the Riders when they saw Winnipeg clinch first earlier in the day. Well, this road's going to be a little longer, but we're still going to get there.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show on a fabulous Tuesday. We're going to make it fabulous. Hi, I wasn't totally ready to get this thing underway. Hope you're ready to have fun over the next 2 hours here on Game Plus TV and WQEE Radio. For our listeners in Atlanta, there's going to be a lot of hockey coming up in the next 2 hours, but a little football, a little bit of everything, actually, as we bring in the Moose. He's in the Toronto studio. I am in the South Florida studio. We continue to be the Golden Corral of sports talk, and that is a little bit, we're the buffet, a little bit of everything for everybody. Moose, what's up with you today? What do you got for me?
Rainy day, great day to be inside talking sports. After a great night, I was talking to you in the morning meeting. It was the sports equinox, and when you brought that up, I don't know, man, I got a little tingle, and I felt like I had to watch all the 4 leagues last night. So it was a fun night channel surfing on the remote.
Look at you spoiling my quick 6 show topics here in the warm-up. Yes, it was the sports equinox last night, everybody. And if you don't know what that is, we're going to get to it. Our guests today are the CFL on TSN's Dave Naylor. He covers the NFL, too. As a matter of fact, I think he's covering the NFL right now. And Les Lazaruk, the voice of the Saskatoon Blades and former Winnipeg Jets broadcaster. Those are the guests. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, Director Jordan, and we'll go from there.
Right on.
On a busy Monday in the NHL last night, I think it was 8 games. In our breakaway bets, I beat you by the narrowest of margins, 4-3. But we both had Columbus to beat the Oilers. They scored 3 goals in the first period, then coasted to a 6-1 win over Edmonton last night. Oilers captain Connor McDavid picked up a lower body injury just 37 seconds into his first shift, did not return to the game. So not just Oilers fans, all of the NHL is concerned about that. I'm not going to go through all of the games, but our viewers voted that the game of the night was in Winnipeg. John Tavares scored thrice. William Nylander had a goal and 2 assists, and Max Pacioretty, Patches, as they call him in Vegas, chipped in with 3 assists as the visiting Leafs handed the Jets their first loss of the season, 6-4. Jets now 8-1. Kyle Connor wasted, I guess, a hat trick and an assist in the loss. Toronto improved to 5-4-1. Let's just put it in park for a second on Monday's NHL take. Both Florida teams were in action. I'll get to that in a second. But you said did you watch the whole game or most of the game or what? The Leafs and the Jets last night.
Yeah, most of this game, aside from a couple of minutes on the World Series and a couple of minutes on basketball and a couple of minutes on the Monday Nighter, it was primarily this game. That was the feature game for me last night. And you know what? The Leafs came out of the gate like their tails were on fire. It was almost a perfect start. They got out to an early lead, 2-0. They had 18 shots, I think it was, in the first period. The game was 24 minutes old. The Leafs had 24 shots, and then eventually jumped out to a 4-0 lead. And this is how they need to play. If you want to beat good teams, like the Jets are a good team, you need to play with maximum effort for 60 minutes and be relentless. Now, Winnipeg has had comeback wins, and all those wins, the first 8 wins, were all comebacks. And sure enough, they started pushing. They got the comeback going a little bit. You knew they weren't going to go away, but credit Toronto for not completely giving that one away late in the third period. But nice first half of that game from the Leafs for sure.
I like their uniforms more than anything. Moose has come in hot with the analysis here. So all of a sudden things are fine in Leafland because they just cooled off the hottest team. It's exhausting following Toronto's fate of their hockey team. I will say this, and by the way, the comments are welcome as always. Thanks. Hey, a lot of people have chimed in with likes already on YouTube. Let's keep it going. Let's get a little noise going around here. And the Alaterra Skincare text line is open, 902-518-3033. I was remiss in I did not tweet the poll yet. So if somebody can handle that in the Millennium Falcon for EMJ Marketing, please do. The poll question has to do with the World Series. I see it here. Clark has very dutifully put it up on YouTube. The poll question is, will the Dodgers sweep the World Series? We're getting to that. I got to stay out of the comments for a second or I'm going to get derailed. For far as that, well, Dylan in Edmonton writes in, Moosey was watching on Game Plus TV as I turned on the text line, 902-518-3033 for Alaterra Skincare. He had texted after the show yesterday, but before the game. Dylan in Edmonton wrote, it's Edmonton's third game in 4 nights. Columbus wins 4-2. You heard it here first, unfortunately. LA was close, but the Blue Jackets won 6-1. Now, as far as the Florida games go, watched almost all of the Tampa Bay-Nashville game, and that was kind of a mistake on me because it was a boring game. But Steven Stamkos was very appropriately honored in his return to Amalie Arena. You probably saw the highlights all over SportsCenter. He went out and did a lap. I think Victor Hedman was crying. Either that or he was sweating really profusely, but I think he was crying, Moose. Stamkos had 2 assists. Predators lost 3-2 in overtime. The better game was the Panthers in Buffalo. From a Florida perspective, they just skated circles around the Sabres. Folks, get your Sabres tickets. Good sections are available. The place was empty, Darren. And the other thing was the Panthers went immediately from Buffalo to Helsinki, Finland. Like I literally, before the show here, I was surfing my social media and I'm like, they're doing media availability already in Finland. Now, you've traveled with teams, as have I, for years. That's fast. Like literally Anton Lundell was meeting with the media in Helsinki, Finland. I'm like, I just saw him play last night. What? But you can get a lot of things accomplished overnight traveling, right? You can get a lot of things accomplished. And that's what the Panthers did. It was a 9-hour flight, but they literally got off the plane and met with the media. That seems a little rushed. But you know what? That's the life they live. That's the life they chose. Can you believe that they're already doing that? I was shocked.
No, I imagine, though, an hour, 2 hours before they landed, they were serving breakfast. So at least they were probably sleeping, hopefully sleeping on the flight. Got as best as sleep you can. But yeah, I can't imagine that. That's pretty crazy. But you got to be efficient. You got to maximize your time. Get there as fast as you can. But on the Sabres, man, the rink's empty. You're right. Like Leanne and I forget about going down to Scotiabank. We've already got plans to drive to Buffalo and go to a couple of games and check it out because it's pick your seat night wherever you want inside the arena.
Tough. I see the Flames fans, the Calgary viewers have showed up. They lost last night 5-0 in Vegas. I'm afraid the Flames are who we thought they were going to be. Good morning, Vancouver. The Canucks lost in overtime to Carolina last night. Darren called that one. You had that one right. I had it wrong. I had the Canucks to win. As we get ready for the CFL playoffs on the weekend, I feel like, Clark, could you just make a mental note of this? I feel like we need to get Kevin the Medium on the air. The biggest BC Lions fan that I know. I'm not sure if he can with his current job or not, but I want to hear from Kevin the Medium. Big Vancouver Canucks fan. He's a Vancouver guy originally. Big BC Lions fan. I'd like to hear from him. I can shoot him a text if you wish. Point two is this. The World Series could wrap up tonight when the New York Yankees host the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 4. L.A. took a commanding 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 series with a 4-2 win Monday night in the Bronx. Freddie Freeman went deep in the first inning and now has homered in 5 straight World Series games. I'm chuckling with some of the coverage that I heard today. Dan Patrick, their topic on there was, who's had a better month, Freddie Freeman or blank? I can't remember who the other one was. Freddie Freeman's had a great month for the LA Dodgers, the new Mr. October, or at least for this year. But what really had me laughing was this. Let's just vote on our own poll for EMJ Marketing, Darren. Do you think the World Series ends tonight in a sweep for the Dodgers or not?
I don't, just simply because I can't see this Yankees team rolling over this fast, 4 straight games. But the way they're playing, I just don't know how they're going to win. They can't handle any of the pitching. They can't get the bat on the ball. And the entire lineup is doing whatever they want, the Dodgers lineup. And Freddie Freeman, I couldn't believe it. It's 3 straight games in this series with a home run. It's 5 straight World Series games for him with a home run, going back to his time in Atlanta. You're right. Maybe he's the new Mr. October. That's unbelievable.
Look at you. You're all over it. Which is fantastic. I think we'll
What happens when you watch all the games, I guess, last night?
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested in seeing the TV ratings for this World Series because I know they were down last year for Texas, Arizona. I didn't watch a pitch of that. I'll be honest, I did flip over last night. It was 2-0 Dodgers, and I think the third inning, and it wasn't holding my interest. It just wasn't. Now, I flipped over to the Monday Night Football game, and here's what happened there. Point 3 of the Quick 6 show topics here. The Pittsburgh Steelers outscored the New York Giants 17-9 in the second half to knock off the visitors 26-18 in NFL play. Russell Wilson completed 20 of 28 passes for 278 yards and a touchdown. Steelers now 6-2, first place in the AFC North, and the Giants dropped to 2-6. I was laughing because of this. That game is what it was. We all know the dominance of Mike Tomlin in his time in Pittsburgh. It's interesting because we will relate this to CFL things in a second. Mike Tomlin was criticized, not for getting rid of his quarterbacks from last year, Pickett, Mason Rudolph, but for bringing in the quarterbacks that he did this year, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and then how he's handled them. But they just keep winning. And it's a little like the Calgary Stampeders with Dave Dickinson and John Huffnagel. They finished worst in the CFL this year. And yesterday, we learned nothing's going to change in Calgary. Point is, they have earned the right not to be criticized, just like Mike Tomlin has earned the right not to be criticized. So that game is what it was. Darren, this is where I'm laughing. Listening to Mike Florio this morning. Did you see him at Super Bowl when you were with me in L.A.? Did you physically lay your eyes on him?
Yes. He was at the Pro Football Talk desk, I believe, at one point.
Okay. Cool, because I saw him in Vegas this year. I couldn't remember if I saw him in L.A. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, and he's on Sunday Night Football as well on NBC. I'm sitting there running this morning, and I almost fell off the treadmill at Johnny O's listening to Mike Florio because he was talking about the Washington Commander. The topic was not the Monday night game because how much can you talk about that? It was, what's the biggest surprise of the NFL season? And he and his host, whoever it was, I can't remember because they got a different one all the time. They said the 6-2 Washington Commanders. I think we would all agree on that, right? We would all agree the Commanders are the biggest surprise. And kudos to Jaden Daniels and everything that they've done. But he said it took a year, he said, to get rid of the stink of Daniel Snyder with Washington as the owner. He goes, a full year. And he goes, it's this is where I'm laughing. He goes, this isn't just open the windows. This is turn on a fan, light a match, rip up the carpet, replace it, and no, don't just shampoo to get rid of the, you know what he's saying, the odor of Daniel Snyder in Washington was, but they've gotten rid of it. And I just wonder with other teams that keep hanging on to the past, you know, if they should do that. And then it got around to Bill Belichick. I talked to you about this on the phone this morning. You know, where does he coach again this year? It's clear that the Jets too soon made a move on Robert Saleh, but they said dysfunctional teams and dysfunctional owners do dysfunctional things. And while everybody's saying Bill Belichick to Dallas, they're saying, the pundits, that he could not get along with Jerry Jones. He's got too strong of a personality. Do you think Bill Belichick ever coaches again, head coach, let alone this year? Where are you? I don't think it'll be this year. But you?
I don't think it'll be this year either. I think if Bill Belichick wants to coach again, I think he'll have some opportunities, especially now that I think the TV's helped, because we talk about how, demonstrative he's been. And, you look at him in the media and the way, just what we were able to see of his time in with the Patriots in New England, a guy that maybe was hard to handle, couldn't tell him what to do, and you risk that. That's a dangerous thing for ownership, to bring in a guy like that you can't control. But we've seen that he's got a softer side. And, maybe you can actually build a relationship and have those conversations. And he may be looking at it, pulling back and being like, there's maybe another way I can do things and still have success. So that's good. And on the Commanders thing, doesn't winning and having some positivity around a quarterback and all the rest do so much for a team? We're not even thinking about the Redskins anymore. They are now the Commanders, and Jaden Daniels is the face of it. It just tells me, transitioning to the CFL and the Edmonton situation, you put a good team, a feel-good story, let's say Trey Ford becomes that, and they roll, it'll be synonymous with the Elks. Winning will be synonymous, and you'll feel good about it. And we'll kind of forget about the controversy for a while.
Whoever said it, winning cures everything, had it right. I think whoever said winning is a great perfume that covers a lot of the stink had that right as well. The Washington's doing it. The Edmonton Elks are not. Couple quick text messages. John in Edmonton says, head coach Chris Knobloch says Oilers captain Connor McDavid will be traveling back to Edmonton to get evaluated after leaving last night's game with a lower body injury. Thank you, John. Kirk in Toronto says, I don't think anybody had the Dodgers up 3-0 with a chance to sweep tonight. And I hear that Freddie Freeman is part Canadian. How about that? If both his parents are Canadian, I don't think he ever lived in Canada, but that doesn't make you eligible for a Canadian visa, Canadian passport. NBA, because why not? As Darren pointed out, it was the sports equinox last night. Wild. 31st time in history that all four major leagues were playing on the same night. NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB. So your Raptors lost. Did they lose in overtime? Yeah, they lost in overtime to the Denver Nuggets. And the Miami Heat won here against the Detroit Pistons. But it's not an NBA show. Never will be. Although I'm considering going Wednesday night to the New York Knickerbockers Miami Heat game. The Knicks are here in town. My friend Gabe just wants to go to a game. My friend Gabe. Because let's just go to a game. I said, what do you want to go? NBA, NFL? I don't care. Let's just go. I feel like he just wants to get out of the house. Know what I'm saying? Gabe. He's a dentist here in Fort Lauderdale. And just to hook you all before we break, 0.5. Man, are we doing well on our quick six show topics here. It is the Canadian Football League. And I have written very calmly, Darren, and very succinctly, CFL commissioner candidates. I think we all would like to think it'll be Mike Morreale, but I shouldn't speak for everybody. I would like to see it be Mike Morreale. Chad's watching in Lethbridge. He writes in and says, Jim Barker for commish. Cheers to a great week of the RP show. Mull that over, everybody, in the 3.5-minute break. Some candidates who you'd like to see as the next commissioner of the Canadian Football League. And we'll continue with the warm-up when we move on. Dave Naylor and Les Lazaruk are the guests today. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, everybody. As sports fans, there's nothing we love more than a comeback. In the game against wrinkles, scars, and acne, it's never too late to revitalize your skin with Alitura Naturals. Check out their website at alitura.com. Use promo code RP20 for 20% discount off your order. Do it now. Let's bring the Moose in. Trying to keep everything on one page as much as possible here on the Golden Corral of sports. It's a buffet, don't you know? Before the break, I said, what are your potential Canadian Football League commissioner candidates? So I hope you all have spent a minute percolating on that. I'm still trying to get my mind, Darren, around the fact that the Florida Panthers played in Buffalo last night. Like, I heard that they were going immediately to Finland. I didn't think, like, from the rink to the plane to Finland. But they did, and they were meeting with the media today. And I was thinking about how tired they would be getting off the plane. And trust me, we'll get to a lot of your comments and questions here too, but road trip stories. One came to mind. I've told you several. You know the one where I said I was in Lethbridge. No, I was calling a Rough Riders game in Calgary. We have a lot of Alberta viewers today, our analytic show. So you'll get this, everybody. It was October 9th, Thanksgiving Monday. Riders played at Calgary in a matinee on the Monday. The Regina Pats are playing in Lethbridge. So as you're looking at it this way, I drove across Calgary with the equipment guy. The team flew home. I had to meet the Pats on the side of the highway. They were coming up from Lethbridge on their way to Red Deer. And I stood out on the side of Deerfoot Trail. You made the joke about my tie flapping in the wind. Remember that? And I waited for the bus to pick me up on the side of the road. Thank God we had cell phones. And they did. But I remember this. We were coming out of Prince George one night. This is with regards to leaving right after the game. We come out of Prince George. We wanted to get home, get on the road fast. Our coach was Tim Tisdale, Hall of Famer. And I never slept on the floor of the bus. I didn't like it. A lot of guys do, I'm sure still do. I didn't like it. But I thought that night I'll try it. So I laid a foam, thing down in the aisle. You know how it goes. Sleeping bag. And they were handing pizza back and forth over top of me. And they dropped a piece of pepperoni right on my face. And I was like, nope. And I didn't last very long on the floor. But I could tell you a million. Now that I think about it, we were driving for a game in Saskatoon against the Blades. I'm with the Regina Pats. And our bus driver, like about 3 times, have I told you this? He kept looking over his shoulder. Bobby Lowe's was our head coach, Drew Callender assistant. Around Chamberlain, maybe Davidson, the bussy, don't call him bussy, they don't like, but the bussy looked over his shoulder. He's like, we are going to Saskatoon, right? And we're like, yeah, where'd you think we were going? Well, we're going to get there at like 5 o'clock, and the game's at 7. Yep. Just drive the bus. He's like, are we going to go to the mall for an hour or something? It's like, it's not a tour bus, guy. Just drive the thing. But do you have any food getting slopped on you road trip story? I mean, you were all over the place this past weekend.
Yeah, no food getting slopped on me. But, on the flight overseas recently, we went to Taipei in Thailand first. The thought crossed my mind. I even said to Leanne, will people think it's weird if I go lay down in the aisle to catch some sleep here? That wouldn't fly on an airplane. That would be a faux pas on the airplane. So you're stuck crammed in your seat trying to sleep like this, But that was one. We've had, bus breakdowns, all the rest. Best food story, though, I did a Blades game. Les Lazaruk was away. I went on a road trip, and that was the McDonald's trip. And Lorne Mulliken, I went to interview him before the game, and the pregame coaches interview. He's like, you picked a great game to come. He's like, it's the McDonald's. We're going to McDonald's after the game. I'm like, this isn't real, right? He's pulling my leg. This is rookie treatment. And I did not believe him until we pulled over at the McDonald's in Swift Current, and 4 giant boxes of chicken nuggets, cheeseburgers, and French fries for everybody. It was the last game before Christmas, so there was always a treat.
Highlight of the year, of course. And this is the thing that you're seeing now why I'm not really interested in traveling, especially living in South Florida. That's not to say I wouldn't down the line, be in a role where I travel, but right now, not really that interested. But I remember on the road, because the kids in my time, they used to be okay with McDonald's. But once we started going there or an A&W on a road trip, they would bitch about it. They're like, look at this. Body is a temple. You're going to feed us fast food? Right? So all of a sudden you had to start feeding them healthily. But sometimes, we would have a day off where we didn't go as a team. They would hand out cash. And the kids would immediately go to a fast food restaurant. Oh, when you're paying for it, it's okay. When we're paying for it, it's not good enough for you. Okay, from the audience. Hey, let's do viewer takeover early. They love the road trip stories. They love the sports stories. That's what we do here. Because every other sports show or the Podunks talking about the same stuff. Can't even tell them apart. Nobody's telling road trip stories like we are. So, Tony from George Fox Country writes in. He says, I'm very impressed with Darko Rajevic's Raptors so far. Knocking off a nemesis and playoff team, the 76ers, and taking the reigning champion Nuggets to overtime last night. That from Tony. Did the Nuggets win the NBA last year? Oh, that was 2 years ago. Glenn in Medicine Hat writes in. He says, thankfully, rural residents and those raised in rural locales remain the true voice of reason and common sense among voters in Canada and indeed across North America. I'd prefer to stay out of politics. I'm happy that the Saskatchewan election was wrapped up last night. The election here, Kamala versus Trump, is a week today. Let's I'm so sick of it. Colin in Ottawa says that bus ride from Saskatoon to Tri-Cities must be so much fun. Listen, if you can sleep through most of it, you're good. Like I was able to do. Sleeping was never a problem with me. I was tired all the time. Raising 3 kids, I was happy to get on the bus. That was fine. I'm not at that stage of my life anymore, right? So, hey, there's a lot of Stampeders fans tuning in here today. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, what's up with the Flame? When will they shake this? They're not shaking it, bro. They are who we thought they were. And that's not an insult. They're in year 1 of a rebuild, bro. They fooled you. They were wearing a disguise, which, by the way, Darren, Thursday's Halloween. We do this every year. Who is the team masquerading, wearing a costume? We'll look at that in the NHL, the NFL, whatever league you want. We'll do that on Thursday, Halloween. Which team is wearing a costume? The Flames ripped their mask off already. Surprise! We're in a rebuild. We are not a top 5. Taylor in Calgary says, I knew Dave Dickenson wasn't going anywhere. And that's the respectful thing. I told you this on the phone this morning. I'm changing as a person and for the better. You've seen it in front of your face. I was thinking about the Grey Eagle Casino in Calgary. All the sports figures came down there to go on this show. At the time, I just kind of expected it. Looking back, I'm like, they didn't need to do that. They did not need to do that. That was very nice of them to do that. Dave Dickenson, John Huffnagel were 2 of the first that did it. So I'm not going to dance on, kick them while they're down. Last place overall in the CFL. And as Mike Kelly wrote in to my Facebook, the famed CFL coach, he goes, these guys are proven football men. They'll figure it out. So I guess, this dropped while we were on the air yesterday, that the Stamps are making no changes. The one thing that just concerns me a little is, what is John Huffnagel's role? I've seen this happen with teams I've been with. We've been through this. When the guy sticks around like Huff is, all of a sudden people don't know who the leader is. People don't know who to listen to. The players don't know who to listen to. So, but I guess we got to have faith in the Stampeder Brain Trust. In this case, team president Jay McNeil, who also came down to the Grey Eagle. So we all have to trust they know what they're doing. Thoughts?
Yeah, we do. And trust that, okay, we talked about this yesterday, when you're looking ahead to the future, this team needs to be better. So Jay McNeil can bring in somebody new and say, you fix this roster, or he can look to the people within and say, okay, Dave, I trust you to fix this roster and get this team back into the playoffs pronto. And why wouldn't you trust Dave Dickenson? He's got a great track record as a player in this league. And, he's worked in that organization and been a part of it for a long time. I think he's earned another opportunity. If this team doesn't turn it around, I don't know that the leash is going to be that long. But you give him an opportunity in the offseason to see if he can't retool this roster and get them back where they need to be.
People wonder why we talk so much hockey and obviously CFL. It's because it's what we know. It's what we're known for. I was on TSN radio in Ottawa last night, and I was with AJ, my guy, and I said we can finally talk about expansion because I hear that's at least on the table, and some governors want a 12-team CFL. Guy wrote me from, let's just say, Parliament Hill. Not Trudeau, but another guy, pretty close to Trudeau, wrote me and said, are you for real? Are you serious? Windsor? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I spend time in the Windsor area. CFL's not big there. I said, I'm just telling you what I heard, bro. But they were listening in Ottawa. It's a CFL special show, I guess, every Monday night at 6, and I was on with AJ. I was still there? Oh, sorry. Did I freeze up? What the hell's going on? And also, AJ asked me, Darren, for a Grey Cup pick. Before we break, I'll tell you this. I said I went into the year predicting a BC Montreal Grey Cup, so I'm not going to go off that. I'm still going to pick BC Montreal. How about you?
Today, you know what? I'm going to pick a Saskatchewan-Toronto Grey Cup. That's what I think is going to happen.
Ooh. Rematch of 1997.
Yeah, you mentioned 97 earlier this week, so yesterday. So I thought that sounds pretty good.
Okay. By the way, that was a me problem on the connection. We're good to go now. It's on me. We're fixed. So I got a BC Montreal Grey Cup. Well, this has really changed things. I can see today's meme. I'm writing BC Montreal. Moose says Toronto, Saskatchewan. Juicy. I saw somewhere last week the only combination that's never happened in CFL history is a BC Ottawa Grey Cup. Could happen. Could happen.
Yeah.
Dave Naylor joins us next. Hey, Kevin the Medium writes in. He says, Moose needs to sleep after that pick. Kevin, we were talking about you earlier. I think we need to get you on the show. How's Thursday looking as an advancer to these CFL playoffs? Give us a reason to think BC won't crap the bed on Saturday at Mosaic Stadium. So, yeah, Moose, I'll see you back here in an hour or two, okay?
See you then.
All right, David Naylor from TSN joins us next. We are live on the Game Plus television network across all of Canada and 31 U.S. states. WQEE Radio in Atlanta. Streaming live on YouTube and, of course, podcast form at Apple and Spotify.
Skate into the holiday season with the Stars. Stars on Ice 2024 Holiday Tour. With figure skating icon Elvis Stoico, Olympic medalist Caitlin Osmond, Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poget, Keegan Messing, Satoko Miyahara, and more. Stars on Ice. Coming to Moose Jaw Event Center December 20th. Unwrap your tickets at starsonice.ca.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Episode 1 launches November 1st.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Back at it on a Tuesday, folks. Drink clean, live green. Filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit culliganregina.com. Dave Naylor joins us from TSN now. He's covering NFL, he's covering CFL, he covers it all. David, welcome back to the program. Can I open this up with this? On the cusp of the CFL playoffs, would you be willing to make a Grey Cup prediction right now, here today, or would you prefer to stay away from that?
Yeah, I mean, I have one. I kind of have a feeling about Winnipeg and Toronto and a Winnipeg Grey Cup victory.
Ooh. What makes you say that?
I think both those teams have a lot of momentum coming in. I mean, when you look at a team's record over the course of the season, I'd be interested to check this. You know, the more meaningful thing to me is how have they played down the back half of the season. And I've said all along, I thought the Argonauts were kind of sleeping in the weeds, right? First half of the season, they win with defense and special teams. Second half, mostly inconsistent on offense, but that started to evolve over the last month. So if they can get some defensive, and Whit McManus is back, if they can get some defensive and special teams performances that are reminiscent of the first half of the season with a fully rounded offense, now that Chad Kelly's had the time to acclimate himself back into the game, they can win it. I think they'll be highly motivated if they beat. I think, again, based on the way Ottawa's played down the stretch, I think Toronto will win this weekend at home. I think they'll go to Montreal highly, highly, highly motivated to avenge what happened a year ago. And I cannot imagine the Winnipeg Blue Bombers going to 3 straight Grey Cups and losing them all.
Okay, well thought out. By the way, Colin from Ottawa writes in, he says, there was a CFL-specific show on Ottawa's TSN 1200 radio? I guess I'll have to tune in. Yeah, I was on it last night. You were on it recently with AJ. It's Monday nights at 6 p.m. on TSN 1200 Absolutely. Ottawa. Don't come at us. Yes. It was a lot of fun chatting CFL with AJ. And last night, we spent a lot of time on the commissioner's story, Dave. Yeah, he's the best. There will be a new commissioner in 2025. Are you shelving that talk till after the Grey Cup, or are you diving headfirst into it?
Well, I'm going to dive into it, but I don't know how deep the pond is going to be. In my conversation recently with Scott Banda, the chair of the board, there's no timetable, there's no priorities, there's no format. I think what's going to be happening at Grey Cup week is formulating all of that. So if we are diving into it, we're going to be reporting on process, I think. They're not going to be interviewing candidates in Vancouver. I think we're probably, months and months away from a new CFL commissioner. And, of course, the league has no real pressure on this because Randy Ambrosie is going to stay on. So they've got somebody manning the wheel, or holding the wheel, if you will. And I think they understand that one of the things that allows them is the opportunity to really think about what they want in their next commissioner and how they want to recruit that next commissioner. So, yeah, I think we'll be talking about it and speculating about it. But in terms of actual reporting, I think most of it's going to be just kind of administrative stuff. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's maybe our timelines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with lots to play out.
Sure. So let's shelve that talk a little bit, I guess, for a few months, because the playoffs are at hand, as I say.
Yeah.
How big a deal is it? Bit of a rhetorical question, David, but for the Vancouver Grey Cup to have the BC Lions in it, let's get real. It's a pretty big deal.
I always hope that it's not, that a Grey Cup isn't hanging on a home team being in it. And I know there's a dramatic effect. If the Lions aren't in it, you're going to have, the ticket market will certainly come down. And if people are planning on going to the Grey Cup and trying to get a ticket, you're probably cheering against the Lions this weekend. But, from everything I understand about what's gone on in this Grey Cup, the planning, all of it, I think, we've seen lots of successful Grey Cups without home teams in it. And again, if your business model is, we got to get 1 out of 5 teams in this game or we're going to have a problem, and I don't think you have much of a business model. So I'm not hanging on that. I know in 2000, I'm trying to think when the last time I was there. Was it 2011? I think it was 2011, right? No, wait, I missed
2014.
2014. So of course, 2014. Yes, of course. Yeah, I was. That was the Hamilton, Calgary one with the flag on the Brandon Banks return. That was a great Grey Cup week. Fabulous game, fabulous whole entire time, and the BC Lions weren't there. Of course, the one previous is the one I was thinking of where they were there, and that was a great event as well. So, but I'd like to think, and I don't know for certain, but I'd like to think that the success of a Grey Cup doesn't rely on a home team.
But I don't want to be misunderstood. You and I have both been to a lot of Grey Cups. It's better when the home team's there. I'm not saying it'll flop if they're not. But
no, and look,
yeah,
I think that, to your point a bit, Rod, I think Amar Doman is really bent on broadening the market, right? There's a reason they played Touchdown Pacific this year. I think this Grey Cup is not only the goal for it to be a great Grey Cup, but I think it's probably what he sees as an event upon which you can build the Lions fan base, beyond Greater Vancouver and within Greater Vancouver. And that absolutely becomes a lot more doable if you've got an iconic moment that everybody in British Columbia can lean into that involves the Lions, in the game, or even better, on the stage at the end of the game holding up the Grey Cup. So I appreciate what you
Best Grey Cups I've ever... Yeah. Best Grey Cups have been in Regina. Look who you're talking to. But right up there's Vancouver. I love the Vancouver Grey Cups. So as have you. I can tell by their smile. And they're all good. You were choosing between chocolate and strawberry ice cream. You know what I mean? They're all good. But let me ask you this. What are the Saskatchewan Roughriders going to get as an opponent on Saturday with the Vernon Adams-led BC Lions coming in there?
It is so hard to know because the Lions down the second half have been, the most enigmatic team in the CFL. And in a year where there's been a lot of enigmatic play, to be honest, and trying to figure out what teams are going to show up. It's so strange. You've got, Ottawa that was 8-3-1 and nearly goes into the playoffs on a 6-game losing streak. You have the Bombers who start 0-4 and then nearly run the table off the back half of the schedule. You've got Montreal that wasn't any great shakes down the back half and was fantastic on the front end. And the BC Lions kind of like that. But the difference is with the Lions, you throw in the quarterback change. And it's not a quarterback change precipitated by injury. It's won by coach's decision. And look, the last time we saw Vernon Adams, he looked like Vernon Adams from the first 6 games of the season. And that gives you the possibility that could be a shootout. Now, the Riders have a really good defense, and it won't be easy to play that way against them. And the last time they walked into Mosaic, we all know what happened. So that to me, of all the factors when you break down this game, just what version of the BC Lions shows up on Saturday to me is the biggest question going into this one.
Can't wait. We're kind of almost out of time, but I'm just interested in what you were doing in Cincinnati. What can you tell me, David? What were you doing in Cincy?
I was in Cincinnati at the first meeting of Chase and Sidney Brown. And as kids, they dreamed about the fact that they would one day play on a National Football League field together. Didn't know if it would be on the same team or on opposite sides. It turned out it was on opposite sides. Chase, the safety with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chase, the running back with the Cincinnati Bengals. Sidney, the safety with the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a little meeting during the warm-up pregame. They did a jersey swap after the game, which was really cool to be out there on the field and see that happening. And then I got to just quickly, I'll tell you a little story. Just outside the stadium, Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, they were there gathered around all of their friends and family who had come from London, where they're from, and other parts of Canada to celebrate with them. Their high school coaches were there. Their host family that they lived with when they went to high school in Florida were there. It was really just a beautiful moment. And the Philadelphia Eagles bus is parked just kind of adjacent to where they all are. And all of a sudden I see Nick Sirianni, the Eagles coach, come off the bus, and he's coming directly at where the Browns and their contingent are standing. And he sees Rachel Brown, their mother, and he says, "Rachel, you raised them right. It was good job. You raised them right, he said to her. And then he got back on the bus. And I'm sure, they got to meet Chase during the draft process. They know Sydney intimately well from having him on their team. And I'm sure they've learned more about the relationship and the story of the boys. It was just a really cool moment. Not one for show, not one for the cameras, just one that I witnessed. And having spent a lot of time around those two players, through the end of their college careers at Illinois and the draft process, and now in the NFL, it was really gratifying, to see their mother recognized for what her two sons are, who are, only in year number 2 in the National Football League. I think are both set up to very solid NFL careers.
Awesome. Great story. Dave, thanks for the time, man. Hope to see you at Grey Cup.
My pleasure. Always good to join you, Rob. Thanks.
TSN's Dave Naylor. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover in a moment. We are live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Episode 1 launches November 1st.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's the RP Show. What we do here is hour one, we talk about last night. Hour two, we talk about what's coming up tonight. Plus, viewer takeover, audience participation. We've had a lot of that in hour one. We'll have even more in hour two. As a matter of fact, looking ahead to tonight, the World Series could wrap up this evening when the Yankees host the Dodgers in Game 4. LA took a commanding 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 series with a 4-2 win Monday night in the Bronx. Freddie Freeman went deep in the first inning and now has homered in 5 straight World Series games. The poll question today for EMJ Marketing is, will the Dodgers sweep the World Series? 65% of you saying yes, it'll end in a sweep tonight. Won't break my heart if it does. The Ottawa Senators are home to the St. Louis Blues as part of tonight's NHL play. The Sens have lost 2 straight. They sit last in the Atlantic Division. But at 4-4, they're only 3 points out of third. St. Louis looking for a split as they enter the final contest of a 4-game Canadian road swing. The Montreal Canadiens aim for a 3rd win in a row tonight when they welcome the Seattle Kraken. The Habs enter the game at 4-4-1 and in the middle of the tightly packed Atlantic Division. Sports update is for Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Joker. From acclaimed writer-director Todd Phillips comes Joker, Folie à Deux, the much-anticipated follow-up to 2019's Academy Award-winning Joker, which earned more than $1 billion at the global box office and remains the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time. Joker, Folie à Deux in Landmark Cinemas now. I looked it up yesterday. It was airing at 3:50 p.m. Eastern here. It's too long to wait to go to the theater. Maybe today. I do want to see it. From the audience regarding our interview with Dave Naylor, Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in. He says, TSN, the Toronto Sports Network. We can't stand them out west here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't be such a sourpuss, Tony. You still watch. Kevin the Medium writes in. He says, I'm good for Thursday. Okay, let's line that up, Producer Clark. Kevin the Medium on Thursday. I can do it if you want. I got his number. Yeah, how about tomorrow? Clark says, how about tomorrow, Kevin the Medium? We're making... Answer your DMs, Kev. We're making miracles happen on live television. How about that?
How about that?
Regarding this Randy Ambrosie stuff, the commissioner of the CFL. I mean, I always say I don't like to talk about jobs while somebody's still in those jobs. But now it's been announced that he's leaving his role as commissioner, so... It's fair game, I guess. Colin in Ottawa says, Larry Tannenbaum, owner of the Argos, chairman of MLSC, and the other franchise owners who wanted Ambrosie gone must want greater franchise values, but how do you do that if your main broadcast partner won't increase the fees they pay to the CFL? You're asking me? Allie in Texarkana says, happy Tuesday, y'all. Hope everyone's doing good. Hey, Allie, on Thursday, we're going to have a special Halloween episode of the RP Show, just so you know. Just prepping you for that. How are we doing for time? What's up, Clark? Where are we at? Oh, there we go. It's 15. Tony says, Sportsnet needs to take over the CFL broadcasting. How about Game Plus? How about WQEE? How about we'll see you right back here after this break.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
This is what I don't like about the Ryder situation. Everybody's like, oh, now they didn't have first, and they didn't get a chance to play for first. Again, it's in my column. What are you bitching about? This is what I would say if I was the Riders when they saw Winnipeg clinch first earlier in the day. Well, this road's going to be a little longer, but we're still going to get there.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hour 2 of the RP Show. I feel like if you're frowning, we're going to turn it upside down. Turn that frown upside down here in Hour 2, and I'll show you how in a minute. It's daytime sports talk, if I may, the best sports talk show on the air. Game Plus TV is the place to be. WQEE Radio. A lot of topics on the table. Streaming live on YouTube, too. Thanks for everybody for joining us on the streaming. I'm here in the South Florida studio. The Moose is in Toronto. Darren, I feel, what are we going to talk about this hour? Whatever we want to talk about. That's how it's going to go, just so you know. Yeah, there's no roadmap. We're all over the place. Can you, Director Jordan, hit the quick six show horn, please? Just to re-up. Bong. This is what we've been talking about. NHL leftovers from last night. There were 8 games, and we're going to look at tonight's games later on this hour and pick the winners as we always do. World Series could end tonight. The LA Dodgers have a 3-0 lead in the best of 7 following a 4-2 win over the Yankees last night at Yankee Stadium. Poll question is, will this, for EMJ Marketing, will this series end in a sweep tonight? And over 60% saying yes, it will. Monday Night Football. I'm always down for a good football chat, as you know. The Steelers beat the Giants last night, 26-18, and everybody expected that the Steelers... We're at that point in the season where there's not a lot of surprises in the games. Have you noticed, Darren? Just hang on to that thought. Point 4, NBA, because why not? Last night was the 31st time in the history of the universe, of the world, that the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB all played at the same time. It's only happened 30 times before last night. Last night was the 31st. So we talked about that a bit. Point 5 was CFL commissioner candidates. And by the way, nobody's put forth a name other than Mike Morreale. Like, nobody. So it's like, is Morreale going to get it, or is somebody that we've never heard of before, like Jeffrey Orridge or Mark Cohan, or we never heard who any of these guys were before they got the job. Well, longtime CFL fans knew of Randy Ambrosie because he played in the league. And I'm a fan of former players because they get it. They know the league. And point 6 is randoms, which whatever that is, I don't know. Random, whatever. You people tell me what it is. But you know what I'm saying? Do you find the NFL games are a little easier to pick now than they were in the earlier weeks of the season?
Yeah, I always shy away from, the Sports Select, the DraftKings, all the rest in the first 2 weeks. You don't know what you have. And they do get a little, I don't know, easier to predict because we start to understand what these teams are. There's more film. We get to, a little more consistency amongst the teams, where at the beginning of the year, it's so up and down. We haven't really decided who's going to rise to the top, who's going to settle at the bottom, who's good, who's not. There's always going to be upsets along the way, but you're right. Very much so, easier to predict as we move along.
When I said turn those frowns upside down, you and I weren't frowning, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are out there. So Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, he said it's the Toronto Sports Network and we hate them all. Out here in the West. I read it on the air. He goes, I didn't think you'd read that one out on air, Rod. But it is what all us out West think. And someone had to say it. And Tony goes on to say, yes, need new batteries in my remote after all of last night's games. I checked in on all the leagues except the NBA. Darren said he watched all 4 last night just to say that he did. I did not check in on the NBA. There was a lot of hockey games to watch last night. But here's the one thing that's different. I've been living in the States now for some time. I'm a permanent resident here. There's no anti-New York bias that I see like there's anti-Toronto or even anti-Eastern bias in Canada. That's just not, neither one's right or wrong. It's just different. We don't hate the Jets, the Giants, the Rangers, the Islanders just because they're from New York. Like people hate the Leafs because it's all TSN talks about. Or they hate the Blue Jays because they hate Rogers, the cell phone company that owns them. It's just the way that it is. You know what I mean? But there is more talk about the Jets. The 2 most talked about teams in the NFL that I've seen, and I feel free, Darren, to agree or disagree, are the New York Jets and the Dallas Cowboys. For whatever reason, not totally sure about the Dallas thing, other than people have been told to talk about them because they're America's team. But I heard a good one today. New York Jets, just end the season. Jets. Just end the season. Have you heard that before? Have you heard? I had not heard that before.
No, but it's outstanding. Outstanding. Jets. Just end the season. It's great.
How about that?
I know.
I love it.
It's good. It's good. And it's why this show appeals to a large audience of a lot of leagues and a lot of cities. We're not specific on one market. Like I was driving home from Johnny O's this morning and I tuned on WQAM, and Darren, it's a funeral talking about the Dolphins, who are now 2-6, and how bad they are and who should pay, and pointing fingers. GM's fault they didn't have a backup quarterback. Head coach being the finger pointed at Mike McDaniel because they didn't call better plays and to save Tua's noggin. It's depressing. When you have a bad team, it's depressing if it's the number 1 team in your town. Tony goes on to say Jets. That's freaking hilarious. I thought it was just end the season. I'd never heard that before, or if I had, it never stuck with me like it did today. CFL, I've spent a lot of time in it in my life. Darren works in it as well, or will again probably. I bring up the CFL because last hour we gave our Grey Cup picks. Here on the cusp, the eve of the playoffs beginning on Saturday, our Grey Cup predictions are these. I got BC Montreal. I said it going into the year. I'm still going to say it. Don't be mad at me, Rider fans. I'm just sticking with the girl that I brought to the dance. Darren's changed his picks more than he's changed his underwear. But today, will it change before Saturday? You're saying Toronto, Saskatchewan. Like a month ago, you said Edmonton, Montreal. So I'm just saying, are you firm on this?
I am. The ballot has been cast and put in the box. It is Toronto and Saskatchewan.
Okay. Dave Naylor was in the program last hour. He picked Winnipeg, Toronto. I'm just throwing that out there. So I feel like there's today's meme that will be posted to our social media. What's your Grey Cup pick? I'd love to hear everybody's take on it. Colin in Ottawa writes in, he says, yes, as a New York Jets fan, we've known what the acronym JETS stands for, and I also find it hilarious. Just end the season. Jeremy writes in, he's a Chiefs fan. He says, I'm not frowning. Life's good. Chiefs are 7-0. Finding ways to win. Keep the journey going. Three-peat. They said going into the year, Darren, we would all agree. Studies showed the number one story going into the NFL season was, will the Kansas City Chiefs three-peat? Here at the week 9 mark, basically the halfway mark, is that still the number one story? I feel like it is, unless the dysfunction of the Jets and the Cowboys is a bigger story. And I don't know that it is. I'm not sure that it is.
I think in terms of media coverage, what I've seen on my TVs, I really haven't seen much of the Chiefs three-peat talk. I saw that going into the season, but now it's been dominated by the Jets. You know, dysfunction early. And then Devontae Adams is saving the season. But now the Robert Saleh, since they fired him, they've gotten worse. Haven't won a game. Defensively, they've gotten worse. But yet, they're still spinning this that the Jets can still turn this around. The New York Jets, I think it's prime time again, which, again, I've said I'm done with the Jets in prime time. But they'll play the Houston Texans this coming week. And I think it's Thursday. The Jets are favored by a point to beat the Houston Texans. And I mean, if I had more money, I'd continue to put it on the Houston Texans in this game. That's how bad the Jets are. But for some reason, they're favored in this game coming up.
They were picked to be in the Super Bowl by USA Today. I mean, I have to let that go. But I just kind of sit there and go, and I know this. There were people when I worked on the CFL that knew more. There were fans that knew more than me, that followed the waiver wire more, the injury reports more. You know, and they used to write me and go, why am I listening to you when I know more about this? I'm like, I don't know why you're listening to me either, bro. But I was sitting here going, at the start of the season, going, why am I paying an exorbitant fee for a USA Today subscription when you can't even figure out that the New York Jets are a dumpster fire before the season even kicks off? I knew that. So, I would be happy talking hockey every day for 2 hours. That would be easy, but I know that would tune out all of our football fans. So I'm kind of waiting until the football season's behind us, and for sure the CFL. But dang, is it fun being a columnist for the National Hockey League for the South Florida Tribune. And I'm still trying to get my head around the fact that the Florida Panthers played in Buffalo last night and won 5-2. And literally, like, barely after I woke up this morning, they're meeting the media in Helsinki, Finland. You've traveled with teams enough to know, like I said last hour, it's not impossible to think that it happened. I'm having a tough time getting my head around the fact that it did happen. You don't want to get a good night's sleep in a Buffalo hotel, if that's possible. Almost got killed in Buffalo one time. That probably doesn't surprise me.
What about that?
Found ourselves in an area of town we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Not far from that world-famous wing place where Buffalo wings were invented. Not far from there. Yeah. Allie writes in, she says, from Texarkana, she says, it would make me happy. LOL. What would? I'm sorry. Squirrel moment. I don't know what she's referring to. Do you?
We've been a lot of places in this conversation, so I'm not sure which one.
Oh, if I talked hockey every day for 2 hours.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Allie says the Stars have been in Finland for a day or so. I should tell you, if you really want entertainment, go watch the Cats and Bolts podcast, because Serena, my lovely and affable co-host, went off on the National Hockey League for having Global Series games in the middle of the season and making teams travel halfway around the world. She's looking at it from the team's perspective. I'm kind of looking at it as a fan's perspective. I don't care. Nobody cares. I don't care that those wrestlers in WWF are pumping their bodies full of steroids. Go out and wail the hell out of each other for my entertainment. I don't care that the NHL teams, you put yourself in the shoes of the players. It's wear and tear, but nobody cares. Utah Darren writes, and he says, any prognostications are just guesses. I don't pay attention to polls or predictions. I sure as hell have not paid attention to any polls or predictions on the elections, whether it was our beloved Saskatchewan election or the U.S. presidential election. I'm not watching any of the coverage. And you know what? I think that's part of why I'm so happy and unbothered by everything. I'm just staying away from it. I saw Brett Favre tweeting how this poll has brought out more hate than any election ever has. I'm like, I haven't seen it because I don't pay attention to it. Something to think about there. And I also want to say something about travel. I don't know where you are on travel. I'll say it again. I don't really want to travel a lot anymore. I'll do it if somebody's going to back up the Brinks truck and give me some money, and I'll do it. But preferably, I don't want to do it. You know, the Panthers fans were asking if I was going to Finland for the games. I'm like, no, I don't need to go. I don't want to go. I just traveled enough. I told some road trip stories last hour about having pizza dropped on me on a road trip because I was sleeping on the floor. I'm not interested in it, you know. Now, the NHL teams, the NFL teams, they travel double-wide leather recliners. I've heard the stories, seen the planes. That's different. But, you know, Serena doesn't like to fly at all. So you've seen the trips that her and I've made. We've driven to Virginia and the Carolinas and Georgia and New Orleans, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana.
How about
There's
that?
a lot of places to drive around here that are really cool. So I don't really need to fly. And this morning I get an email from Boca News Now, which I follow. Flight turns around out of Fort Lauderdale on its way to New York. I'm like, click on to find out why. I'm like, oh my God, this is my town. This is my airport. There was a strange odor in the cabin, Darren, and they felt they should turn it around. Now, I don't want to joke too much about this, but I'm like, maybe somebody was, you know, their breakfast didn't agree with them. We've all been
indigestion.
Had that happen. Yeah, indigestion. Being facetious. I don't know what that odor would be, but I'm just like, I'm glad I'm not on the plane. You know what I mean?
That happened to me.
Yeah.
My very first flight ever. We were going to Cuba, and I'll try to make this short. Left out of Regina, got halfway. We were going to Saskatoon to pick up people. So it was Regina to Saskatoon, Saskatoon direct to Cuba. We left Regina, got halfway. The pilot's like, we're just going to circle back to Regina because there is a mechanical issue with the aircraft. We're going to just get this taken care of. My mom, nervous flyer. Oh, boy, we're going down. And I've never been on an airplane. I just thought that was normal. Oh, I guess they must turn around a few times. That was the only time it's ever happened. It's not normal.
Not at all. And it's just because I look at the Panthers and a lot of these guys that work for the teams, and I'm like, they're my age or older, and they don't seem to have a problem with it. But I'm just kind of over it. I remember one time coming home from Calgary with a Rough Rider game in the winter, and Harold Cooper, our chaplain, team chaplain, we traveled with one back in the day, was turned around talking to me in the seat. And they're like, please buckle up, we're going to land. We got like a foot. It was in fog and ice and a blizzard. We got a foot from the runway, and they're like, whoop, we're going back to Calgary. We can't land. And what are we going to do when we get there? We don't have a change of clothes. We don't have, you know what I mean? I don't like traveling in the winter. I'm at the point now where I don't like traveling at all. Utah Darren writes in, he says, bus trips with sports teams can sour you quickly on travel. Spent many hours on Division II college football trips that I will never get back. Jeff, the Stamps fan says I was sick on a flight from Vancouver to Honolulu. Worst 5 hours of my life. If anybody writes in with their travel stories, I'm here for it. I will say one last one. We had a player on the Pats by the name of J.J. Watt. We were driving through BC, Sparwood, home of the world's largest tractor. He's taken a leak on his BlackBerry phone in the back of the bus, and the bus quickly swerves. He drops his BlackBerry in the toilet. Have I ever told you this story? Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
And for what? I was sitting in the back of the bus with the vets. And we're like, well, guess we got to get you a new phone, JJ. Nope. He was a cowboy from Cremona, Alberta. He was like Clark Griswold, hand in the toilet of the bus, pulling out his BlackBerry. And we stopped at the next town, which I want to say was Cranbrook or something, maybe Revelstoke. And he had his blue up here, that blue dye. And he had his phone against the blow dryer in the bathroom.
Take it off. Hello.
For me, it would be get a new phone. We'll be back in a moment. Live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Back after it, and hour 2 of the RP Show brought to you by Culligan Water. Clear water, clear choice. Filter out the bad and taste the good. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit their website, culliganregina.com, and order yours. Let's bring the Moose in. Something dawned on me. We have viewers, Moose, all across Canada, but also a lot in the U.S. as well, because they want to hear what the Canadian sports topics are. That's what makes us different from everybody else. Having said that, Rob in Vegas writes in. He's originally from Winnipeg. I met him at Super Bowl last year. He says, why the New York Jets hitched their wagon to a 41-year-old quarterback with no mobility recovering from a torn Achilles is beyond me. Recipe for a disastrous season. They were hoping. That's all we can say. We've been talking about disgusting travel stories because I was saying I don't care to travel that much anymore. I feel like, Darren, you're not huge on it either, or did I misread you?
I could take or leave the travel for sure, but I still have the energy for, like, I'm still into it. I'm still, want to be as many places as I can. But you're right. I can take or leave the travel. I don't need to have 6-hour flights anymore.
As my good friend Mike Lee says, my Dale Mike. He goes, I like going places. I just don't like traveling. That makes sense to me. I heard that.
Yeah.
And it's not that I won't. If I go to Grey Cup, I'll be down with that. I don't care for flying as much. If I don't have to, I don't want to. How about that? Scott in Toronto writes in. He says, sharting inside an aircraft will bring a plane down fast. Just leaving that. B. Henderson writes in, says, I once flew from Minnie to Winnipeg during a storm. They made everyone sign a waiver before getting on the plane. Never seen that before. That would concern me a little. You're entering this aircraft on your own free will. Jennifer writes in from the Four Seasons, and she says, good morning, y'all. Quick weekend trip to Edmonton to watch them beat Pittsburgh. Then to Medicine Hat to watch the Pats. They lost. She says, I hope Connor's not out too long. And she says, can't believe Columbus manhandled my oil. Want to say that again? Columbus manhandled my oil. There is Canadian slang. There's Canadian slang that a lot of people would not understand. We all get it, right? Not everybody would.
Yes.
Allie wants to know if J.J. Watt dropping his BlackBerry in the blue dye in the toilet of the bus, if his phone worked afterwards. It actually did. How did we end up on story time so early in the week? I have no idea. But what I will tell you is, I wouldn't say I got to be good friends with, but I knew real well the VP of Sales and Marketing for RIM, Research in Motion, BlackBerry, Anthony LeBlanc. He was an owner of the Arizona Coyotes when I was hanging around the Coyotes for a period of like 4 or 5 years. And then he was business VP of the Ottawa Senators. And I liked Anthony. I liked him a lot. Spent a lot of time together. Now, he was like Jim Balsilli's right-hand man, Darren, with BlackBerry. And so he told me a lot of the inside stories about BlackBerry. And basically, that you and I went to that movie together, right? What was the name of that movie? It's called BlackBerry, wasn't it? Wasn't it called BlackBerry?
I think it was called BlackBerry, yeah.
What was that movie about BlackBerry called? Anyways, those suckers were built to last. But the problem was they were going up against iPhone, and they had all the resources and Steve Jobs behind them. And basically, BlackBerry saw them coming and said, we don't want to get into this arms race. We'll just wave the white flag and you can have the market. They just gave up because they knew they were not going to beat Steve Jobs and Apple. But I guess the point is those BlackBerries they were built to be dropped in the toilet. They would still work. At least JJ's did. Story time.
Great movie.
Allie in Texarkana says, it was a good movie, wasn't it? Allie says, man, BlackBerries were awesome. I'll say this about those guys in Arizona. Their claim to fame, because they didn't do any winning, but their claim to fame was turning the name from the Phoenix Coyotes to the Arizona Coyotes, which doesn't matter anymore at all. And they also put a Tim Hortons in the rink. I think every rink, period, should have a Tim Hortons, let alone every NHL rink should have a Tim Hortons. I kind of miss Tim Hortons. Are you ready to play NHL breakaway bets?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. There was 8 games last night. I narrowly edged Darren out 4-3. Let's see if you can do a little better today, Sparky.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay. Philadelphia at Boston tonight. Who wins, Moose?
I feel Philadelphia will win tonight. They got to get something going here.
Okay. Well, I will go with Boston because they got to get something going. The St. Louis Blues wrapping up a Canadian road trip at Ottawa. Can I go first? I'll take the Senators to win. You?
Okay, I'll take the Blues.
Okay. The Anaheim Ducks visit the New York Islanders. Who you like?
Ooh, Islanders.
I'm going to go with the Islanders, too. The Seattle Kraken at the Montreal Canadiens. I believe the Habs are looking for their 3rd straight win. I'll take the Bleu Blanc Rouge. That's red, white, and blue.
Okay.
That's blue, white, red in French. I'm taking the Habs. You?
I'll take the Kraken.
Okay. The Minnesota Wild at the Pittsburgh Penguins. Who do you like?
Wild are playing really well. Pittsburgh needs some goaltending. I'm going to go Minnesota.
Me too. Read an article today. Marc-Andre Fleury going back into Pittsburgh, they say, for the last time. You know he's going to want to put up the plywood. Starting in goal for Minnesota. I'm taking the Wild. We both are. Pretty good clash here. New York Rangers at the Washington Capitals. Who do you like?
I'll take the Rangers on the road. I think they're the best team in hockey.
Is that right, huh? I'll take Washington at home. Just to be that guy. Tomorrow, big day in the program. We're going to be doing top 5, bottom 5 in the National Hockey League. I can't believe the viewers want it so bad, but we'll give it to you because you want it. Get your NFL power rankings out too, Darren, for tomorrow, top 5.
Yes, sir.
People have been asking for that too. And the Los Angeles Kings at the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks are coming off their first win of the season. They beat Utah last night in extra time. But I will take the Kings to win this one tonight in the Shark Tank. How about you?
I'll take the Sharks. 2 in a row. Let's ride a little wagon here.
Okay. Everybody, you can play along. We call it sport betting, where we pick the winners, but don't put any money on the line. We invented it ourselves. You're welcome. Mark in Burlington, Ontario, is watching on Game Plus TV. He writes in and says, Rod, Deadpool and Wolverine are now the highest-grossing R-rated movies of all time. Take it up with Landmark Cinemas, bro. I'm just reading the liner that they put in front of me. Ron Burgundy, here. Kirk in Toronto writes in, and he says, hey, Rod, last time I checked, media centers in the U.S. are New York and L.A. In Canada, it's Toronto. The West hates us because we are the New York of Canada. I don't know. You're from the West, living in Toronto. Do you have a thought on that?
I don't feel that. I don't feel like, and I've been in the United States, I don't feel the New York hate. It feels like a little bit like different worlds, and I think that's mostly because of the time zone. But I do the Toronto thing, like with the Leafs and the sports teams, I see that a little bit around the Lakers and the Dallas Cowboys. And it's simply because of media attention, not about location. It's all about media attention.
Yeah. In Canada, because the population is so skewed east versus west. I mean, look up America. There's 36 million people in California alone. Yeah. It's not a huge imbalance in America like there is in Canada. Trust me, as a guy that only lived a half century in Western Canada, I get it. The federal government is skewed towards the east, hence we always take the shaft. I get it. That's not a thing in the States, not that I've seen. And the media is always talking about the Leafs. I didn't like that either, but it didn't make me stop watching TSN. It didn't make me hate them, for sure. Regarding BlackBerry versus iPhone, Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in, and he says, the scroll ball screwed up on my BlackBerry, or I would probably still be rocking it. I'll tell you what made me give up my BlackBerry. I had the deal, as you know, with Prairie Mobile Communications, and they called me in and they said, Rod, we need to give you an iPhone. You need to turn over your BlackBerry. I'm like, no. You can pry this out of my cold, dead hands. You're going to have to kill me before you get my BlackBerry. And they're like, BlackBerry is going to be obsolete. We see where this is going. iPhone is where it's at. Give us your BlackBerry. And since it was free, I had to hand it over, but I didn't want to. I was the last guy to give up the BlackBerry, man. I loved it so much. And I also remember the Crackberry nickname. I do feel so guilty that with my kids that I was just on it too much. I'm not anymore. Not like I was, but what are you going to do? The past is the past. Moose, you have yourself a great Toronto afternoon, okay?
I will. Thank you.
We'll be coming back with Les Lazaruk, the voice of the Saskatoon Blades, right after this. Talk a little Winnipeg Jets as well. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Episode 1 launches November 1st.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
RP Show continues. RP Show fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpeterson.com. Let's keep the truck on rolling. Les Lazaruk joins us, the voice of the Saskatoon Blades, Winnipegger, former Jets broadcaster. Hey, Lester, how you doing, buddy?
Good to see you, Rod. It's been a while, but great to be involved with the program once again.
Hey, glad to have you. Hey, it's good to be seen. You know what it's like in this perilous trade. Before we get to the WHL lesson, your division conference leading Saskatoon Blades, let's talk about your hometown Winnipeg Jets. How did you feel about the 8-0 start and then the stubbing of the toe against the Leafs on Monday night?
Stubbing of the toe was bound to happen. I think they'd been playing with fire for a couple of games prior to playing Toronto last night. I said on air here yesterday, it wouldn't surprise me if the Leafs won. I mean, it's just so Toronto. It's so Maple Leafs, that core group, to play terribly for the last few games and then come up against the arguably the top team in the NHL at this point in time and beat them just because, well, we can't. Just to remind people that we have a pretty good team with the Maple Leafs. And the Jets, like I say, I think had been playing with some fire and finally got burned last night with some turnovers at the most inopportune times and to the wrong people. John Tavares, nice to see him come up with a big game last night for the Leafs. But yeah, it was just a matter of time before Winnipeg lost a game and Toronto won a big game like that.
You have the historical perspective, and we have a lot of Winnipeg viewers. So let me ask you this: Is this the best? Is this the best Winnipeg Jets team of all time, 1.0 or 2.0?
I don't know. It's a very good team. Might be the best 2.0 version. I don't know that it would beat 1.0. I mean, the Jets of the mid '80s led by Dale Howardchuk, and with Paul McLean and Brian Mullen and people like that, they were very good. I mean, they had over 100 points one year, and the only reason why they never won anything is they're in the same silly division as the Edmonton Oilers, who had Gretzky and Curry and Coffey and all the rest of those guys. That Jets team was a joy to watch. This one could maybe do something better than what that team did, only because they don't have to face the Oilers a number of times during the course of the regular season. They're not in the same division as they are. So as long as they can continue on, I would say that the team has a chance to go the furthest of any Winnipeg Jets team than certainly 1.0.
I guess the answer to that remains to be seen. We'll see how this
remains to be seen. Yeah, in my long convoluted way, which I'm prone to do. So.
How about that?
Yeah, I was entertained. Now, Saskatoon Blades. I think I talked to you last year in the playoffs. I said, is this the best Blades team ever? He ended up losing his, I don't need to tell you, Game 7 of the East Final against the Warriors. Here you guys are right back at it again. Talk about this season so far, if you don't mind.
Okay, this is a big-time surprise. And, I mean, the voters of the CHL Top 10 take that for what it's worth. I mean, a lot of people don't like it. They think that teams get the short shrift. The Blades didn't mind it because, they weren't supposed to be 10-2-1. I mean, they knew they had some good players coming back from last year, but they didn't have, Trevor Wong, Igor Sidorov, Fraser Minton, Easton Armstrong. I mean, 5 of their top 6 forwards from last year's team didn't return, and they didn't get Brandon Lazowski, the other person on that top 6 from last season, back until after Game 6 this year. And yet they started off 4-1-1 in those first 6 games and, surprised a lot of folks with some of their young guys and some of the guys who were returning that had been in bottom 6 roles and all of a sudden embracing top 6 roles this year and scoring some goals. I mean, they're averaging over 4 goals a game through 13 games. Nobody saw that. This Blades team with Evan Gardner, the Columbus Blue Jackets second-round pick from this past summer, were solid in goal. They have Tanner Molendyk, Nashville's first-round pick from 2023 on defense, along with a couple of 20-year-olds and Ben Saunderson and Graydon Seepman. The belief was, we can keep it out of our net, but who's going to score? Well, they're scoring, and it's surprising the heck out of everybody, and a lot of it has to come down to Ben Reich, a guy picked up from Victoria in a trade in the offseason, a 19-year-old from Bethune, Saskatchewan that they got from the Royals for 20-year-old Von Waterroot. And Reich, I think, already has more points than Waterroot had all of last season. And it's only 13 games in. So the Blades are doing a lot of surprising things, but now they're no longer flying under the radar. We'll see what happens on this BC road trip.
And I'm sorry I had to look up who the head coach is, Dan De Silva. So clearly he's doing a great job.
Well, Dan's a Saskatoon guy. This is something that, they haven't had. They've gone through their Everett phase, where the disciples of Kevin Constantine, Mitch Love, and Brendan Sawney came through and did such a wonderful job of helping to create culture. And Dan has been an assistant and/or associate coach for the last 3 seasons under Sawney and moves up, and the guys want to do well for him because he's just a real salt of the earth type of human being. And again, from here, he knows all about the history. He knows all about the way the Blades team is held in this city, and he wants them to have something to be proud of. And so he is putting in the time like you wouldn't believe, and the kids have responded so far.
Oh, Les, you and I work together like pieces of a puzzle. You just rolled me into the next comment, which is the city of Saskatoon taking to this team. I saw Brian Munz's video of the game the other night. It was a Wednesday night, like 8,500 people there or whatever. Like, holy smokes, man, you're filling the barn. Talk about that, please.
Okay, it was 6,600, and let's give some context to that. That was $5 a night. This is one of the many wonderful promotions that the Blades have come up with, and they execute them so well. They become masters of being able to put people in the building and coming up with promotions that capture the imagination. And one of the great ways to capture the imagination of people is to make it affordable. Imagine that in today's day and age when everything in the world is going up in price. You make something affordable. $5 tickets, $5 burgers, $5 beers all night long. And then to top it off, if they were to win that Wednesday game, which they did over the Seattle Thunderbirds, you get a free ticket for the next home game coming up on the 15th of November against the Edmonton Oil Kings. So why wouldn't you go out to SaskTel Center on a Wednesday night when you've got that type of a deal and an opportunity to get a free ticket for another game, which you ended up getting because your Blades are playing pretty darn good right now?
Approved.
Yeah, you get to show up and watch a good team, too. So, well, normally they would call that guaranteed win night. If the team doesn't win, you get a ticket. This is even better. I'll say this. You might have seen I spent a good time with your guy, Lauren Mulliken, last weekend in Wolseley. He's doing great, just so you know.
Good.
You probably know that. And can you please give me a Grey Cup pick, Les? You got one? That's kind of a mild theme of the program today.
Yeah, Grey Cup pick. I'd have really loved to have said the Saskatchewan Roughriders, had they beaten, or had Winnipeg not beaten Montreal back on Saturday. That whole Saturday thing is still blows me away as to how that gust of wind came up and affected Joseph Zima's punt the way it did, and then Sergio Castillo makes the field goal, and the Bombers get first place, and the Riders, okay, so that's happened. I guess we're going to finish in second. I would have said the Riders, had circumstances been different, but I actually honestly think that the best team in the CFL right now is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Bombers won the Grey Cup. I mean, Montreal's good. The BC Lions are a dark horse, and they're going to give the Riders all they can handle with Vernon Adams Jr., now the quarterback, coming up in the West semifinal on Saturday. But I really believe it'll be the Bombers beating, doesn't matter who from the East, whether it's Montreal, it could be Toronto. It's definitely not going to be Ottawa, but I think it'll be one of those two teams from the East, and I think Winnipeg will win the Grey Cup.
Sounds good. Lester, good to see you, man. Thanks for the time. Keep on trucking.
Any old time, Roddy, you know me. I've been fooling them for a long time, and I hope to continue to fool them for a while longer.
The Elton John of junior hockey, Les Lazaruk. Thank you, Les. Joining us from the Bridge City. We'll be right back with a sports update and one final viewer takeover, so get it all in. Your Grey Cup picks, your Randy Ambrosie replacement candidates, tonight's NHL picks if you're down. We'll get it all in overtime for Overtime Hockey Lanes right after this here on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, YouTube, live streaming, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Episode 1 launches November 1st.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
We are back for Overtime, brought to you by our great friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. If you haven't checked them out yet, now is the time to do it. Hockey season in full swing. If you're looking also for just the right place for your team bonding sessions and outings, where else would you rather go than a place called Overtime Hockey Lanes? State-of-the-art equipment. I've seen it. Spacious shooting lanes. Games for all age ranges. Did I mention the licensed bar and restaurant? Overtime Hockey Lanes is the perfect destination to build teams, whether you're from the Calgary area or on a road trip from out of town. Look them up and book your lanes today. 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. A lot of topics on the table here today. A lot of things going on in sports. We mentioned last hour that it was the sports equinox on Monday night, the only time of the year that all four leagues were playing. NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. Only the 31st time in history. It's wild. That is not the case tonight. We got World Series Game 4 and 7 NHL games. That's it. Ron is watching in Calgary, and he writes in on the text line for Alaterra Skincare, 902-518-3033. And now is the time to get at me if you want to. We got 6 minutes left in this segment. He says, hey, Rod, great show as usual. Prediction time, Sask 35, BC 31. Isn't it interesting how this is all shaken down to this Western semifinal on Saturday? Riders-Lions. Was on the air in Ottawa last night, TSN 1200, and the host AJ Jakovic asked me for my Grey Cup prediction. I said, well, I went into the season saying BC Montreal, so I'll stick with it. BC Montreal. So don't at me, Rider fans. It's going to take a miracle and Vernon Adams returning to last year's VA, or the first third of this season's VA. That's what I'm going with. Sports update, the World Series could wrap up tonight when the New York Yankees host the LA Dodgers in Game 4. LA took a commanding 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 series with a 4-2 win Monday night in the Bronx. Freddie Freeman went deep in the first inning and now has homered in 5 straight World Series games. 8:08 first pitch. That's the poll question today for EMJ Marketing. Do you think this thing will end in a sweep? Last we looked, 60+% of you saying yes, it will. Here's some breaking news from today. The 6-team Professional Women's Hockey League is launching its expansion process with plans to add 2 franchises for the start of the 25-26 season, a league executive announced today. Speaking at the ESPNW Summit in New York, Senior Vice President of Business Operations Amy Shearer said the league will begin sending requests for proposals to several markets starting as early as next week, while also accepting applications. Among the U.S. expansion candidates are Detroit and Pittsburgh. News from the CFL, Toronto Argonauts quarterback Nick Fatty Arbuckle was named CFL Offensive Player of the Week today after throwing for a career-high 378 yards in a 31-30 loss to the Edmonton Alcamos last week. Ottawa Redblacks defensive back Damon Webb took the weekly honor on defense. He had 3 defensive tackles and a pick in a 37-31 win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Montreal's offensive line was also rewarded for its efforts in a 28-27 loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sports update brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for sporting events and concerts. Canadian owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use promo code RP Show for 15% off now. Check us out at SeatGiant.ca. And also for Landmark Cinemas, get more of what you love with their rewards program. Landmark Extras, free movies, concession items, invites to exclusive screenings. There's 3 programs to choose from. Pick one to fit your lifestyle. Check them out today at landmarkcinemas.com. Always good seeing Les Lazaruk, isn't it? And Dave Naylor, too. How about this? Darcy in Grand Prairie writes in. Hey, Darcy. Says, great show, fellas. Sask 31, BC 30. Rouge for the win. Yeah, hey, I get it. It's the most exciting time of the year in the Canadian Football League, and you're all geeked up. Here's what I do not understand. Bye, Allie in Texarkana. Thanks for spending some time with us. She says, hope everyone has a terrific Tuesday. Great show as always, Rod and crew. Appreciate you for joining us for Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, and only daytime sports talk show. Bo Levi Mitchell sets a franchise record in Hamilton. 5,400 passing yards in a season, yet the media, particularly some of those TSN analysts, saying he shouldn't win it because his team missed the playoffs. You guys work with the guy, and you don't want him to win the most outstanding player. I don't get it. What am I missing? Glenn in Medicine Hat writes in. He says, Winnipeg or Saskatchewan fans will be great supporters during Grey Cup week in Vancouver. Good travelers. Jen at the Four Seasons says, Regina Pat's ownership should take note here. Just saying. That was with regards to the Les Lazaruk interview. Cheap tickets, cheap food. Arlen Bruce writes in. He says, if you guys are talking politics, religion, or relationships, I'm out. Looking forward to the playoffs. Would love to see Coach Dice advance. Were we talking about any of those things? Politics, religion, or relationships? I don't feel like I was. All right. Oh, that's in the chat. Yeah. Okay, I'm done. I'm out. Have a good one, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Who has more fun than us?